Hello and welcome everybody. Bruce Jones here on a Friday afternoon, and this is the Workbook Masterclass live Q&A, and we are live. All right, everything seems to be working. Seems to be up on Facebook and running there. We're also streaming to YouTube. So this is we are getting right now down to the end. The Workbook Masterclass has been open for a week, and it has gone great. I've really been pleased. We have some great people have come in and joined the masterclass. It is closing today in an hour and a half at 6 p.m. and it will be, all the bonuses are closed and the special price and the coupon. This is the coupon that's going right now, the Workbook Open that you can use. And the link is above or below, depending where you're doing it. And Nobby's in the house. Hold on, let's get Nobby up here in the house. And we can also do, and Australia. Oh, we have the Australian contingent. Look at that. Maybe we'll get Graham in here. I can send him a link. We can do that. So this is a Q&A session. I'm going to do a bunch of different things. It's sort of a celebration and a huge thank you to everybody who has come in and gotten part of this and done things. And this is the most extensive sort of launch that I have done. So I would say we have two guys from Australia. It's amazing how in these days of live streaming, you can go international, like just almost instantaneously. We're broadcasting around the planet. So what I was going to do is just sort of tell you some news of where we are with the course, and then some Q&As. And if somebody wants to come in, I think I can make that happen. Just put a note in there. Oh, Anna's here. Let's get Anna in here. Oh, Anna, you've been trying to follow and get connected. So thank you for joining. So we have Texas in here. So we're kind of getting all parts of the world. And so we're going to do sort of updates where we are, do some Q&As. I can do a little demo. I have finished all the parts now of the course. So when I launched this course or got it going, I didn't have anything. And so it's been a frantic scramble. And all the parts are in now. And I can show you what that looks like. Let's see, let's get the right stuff here. Let's turn this off and do this off. We have all kinds of things here. And I'm going to just do a screen share of, let's see, this one right here. So there we go. So you can see that. So everything is now in the course. And the last piece I finished yesterday, which was some of the training for InDesign. So when you jump in and you kind of do the course, this is the download members area that you will see. And put this up here. And so there's an intro, and then there's the core materials. That's all this stuff right here. So I take people through the hidden treasures, the types of different workbooks, workbook tips, publishing workbook, marketing your workbook, design tips, and working on your cover. So that's all the core content. Then I have done some training. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover questions, but part of the survey that I sent out, about 14 people did the survey, and that was fantastic. I learned in the survey that most people didn't use InDesign, but they were using Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. So I had to reconfigure everything and work on those products first, and then, or those components first, and then the InDesign. So what I did is I put together a set of template elements, and I'll show you that on the InDesign one a little bit, a set of template elements that you can pick and choose to build your workbook out of. And I also did a demo, a training video for each of those products. So there's one for Microsoft Word, which also pretty much works for Google Docs. There's one for PowerPoint, which works pretty much for Google Slides, and then InDesign. That's the one I did yesterday, finished that, and all that's now been uploaded, and that's all in. And then we have 3 case studies. We have the Graham Reese, who is on here, right here. I'll just put him up. So he's here from Australia, and the broadcast where he did the workbook first and then created the book from it. So most people do a book or something first, and then they create a workbook. He did it the other way and used the knowledge and experience gained from the workbook to create the book. So it's a great way to go. We have the Ed Gaskin interview, Latanya, Girls, Gangs, and Guns, which was a book that he created on gang violence and teenage girls who have gang members as boyfriends, and it's used in community discussion groups and church groups and all kinds of things to kind of help with that, and discovered that people were using his questions that he put in the back of the book, which is a great idea, to have discussion groups. So he created a workbook, and then he created a leader book. So that was really cool. I have that right here. So that was this book. That was kind of great. And then we have the Nancy May book on how to survive 911, and created a really good book for medical emergencies, which is releasing very shortly. And her book is filled with checklists and information about dealing with emergencies for senior citizens and older folks, and how to create workbooks and checklists and things out of that book. So we really go into depth on pulling the checklist that she has in this book out, and then creating how to publish them, and then how to market them. So this is a really good one on the marketing ideas that I had. So those are the case studies. That's down here. And then there's three. We have the Hidden Treasures book, which is, I sort of wrote a book while I was doing this. That's one of the ways to do things, is just document things as they go. And so that was kind of fun. Then it's a tips and resources book that's in there. It's a PDF, another PDF of all the different tips and resources that I use to create books. And then we started doing the Zoom calls. And so that was really cool. That was Saturday. And that was anybody. It's the bonus. There are 3 Zoom calls with this, and we did one on Saturday. We had a blast. We had 8 people, and you can, let me undo this one. You can watch that. I did put it in the group, but I also put it, let me bring that up here. And it was just, we didn't get into too much training on it. It was supposed to be, I wanted to focus each Zoom call on Microsoft Word for the first Zoom call, PowerPoint for the second Zoom call, and InDesign for the third Zoom call. And we never got really to the training part. We just talked about everything else around workbooks. And so if I just go to here, screen share, and let's just do this application window. This one. And this is the course page right here. And if you scroll down, right here is that video. So it was a blast. We had a lot of fun just talking to everybody about their projects, the kind of things they were doing. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to go through the questions that people put into the Q&A and just talk about different kinds of things. So I'm going to try to mix that up a little bit. And so I've watched that. It's just right here. And it's, again, the link is above or below. And until 6 o'clock, you can use this coupon right here. You can use this coupon to get $50 off the price. But so that's there. And you can also see you can see the Graham Reese interview that's right here. I put it right on the page, the main sales page that everything is on. So so that was cool. We had a lot of fun. And there's going to be another one on Monday. My scheduling right now is I'm scheduling it for Monday at 3 o'clock. And anybody that's a member of the group will get, oops, let me put this here. Let's remove that. Anybody who's a member of the group I will send them out an email, and they can join in, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about for questions. So that should be, though, fun. If it's anything like the first one, it was just a blast. So, all right. So let me just dive in. What I want you to do is dive into some of these questions. So I did a survey, which was if you're running a course or setting up a course or doing anything like that, I just highly recommend to do some kind of survey with your audience. So the course launched, then I sent out a survey, and you just got some great information back. So what I want to do is just some of the questions that were in there, what people were trying to do and wanted to do were just great. So I thought I would just sort of answer some of those questions live. And if you have questions, put them in the comments area on in the Facebook page where you're watching this, and I will see them, and maybe I can get you in here if you want to do that. So, all right, let me just go to some of these questions. So we had about 14 answers, I said, And so here, I'll just read one and then just sort of do it out. Let me just open this up so I can see them. All right. So the first one was from a business trainer, and they wanted to make a workbook out of an existing course or program. And they said, I'm working on a project with a client right now that I could document all the steps and create handouts and checklists, etc. And it would make a nice project guidebook workbook for someone. This is a fabulous idea. And there was an internet marketer called Mike Keening, who had a saying, live your life like a laboratory. And I really liked that idea. It's kind of how I wrote this book. I mean, put this course together was live my life like a laboratory. I documented for the book that comes with this, basically the process of me putting it together and just putting everything into it. So you have a process, you're going through something, you're doing something like consulting, that kind of thing. So you can just start writing it down. Like here, I'll just show you what I do. I carry all the time a little notebook like this, right? So I have, these are those little moleskin books, and they're great. And I just write, you can see, you know, I get ideas, a little piece of paper fall out. I get ideas all the time of things to, look at, I mean, it's just scribble it. I had some the other day when I was taking a walk, and you'll see that you can barely read them. Looks like that. And you're going to do a couple things. One, you're going to write down the questions you get asked the most. So it's an exercise that I've done for helping people write books. When you want to know what do I write about, you write about what is the number one question that you get asked. Just sit down and just write it down. You know what it is. It comes to you all the time. It's how you're sort of seen as an expert. And you can just write that question down. Then write down the second most common question and the third most common question. If you can't quite think about what it might be, or you do a lot of different things, keep a little notebook or a pad of paper by your desk or on your phone, put it in the notes section. Just write down every question you get for a month. Just write them down. However inane they are or crazy they are, just write them down. At the end of the month, come back and look at those questions and organize them and figure out, okay, these were the ones that had most, and these were the second and third. That's how the world sees you. That's how you are the expert for people, because they're coming to you to ask certain questions, and they're doing it because they say, oh, this person knows. So that same process can go when you're working with a client. And I've done this a lot when I was a graphic designer and would have clients. I might just have a really good meeting. I'd come out of that meeting, sit down and write down what just happened, the process of it. And just document that process, and you start to figure out what it is you do. And you do that over a few client meetings and things. You'll start to see that you have a procedure that happens. And then taking that procedure, you now can maybe slot something in there. Maybe there's a form that you're always using all the time, or some kind of a project analysis thing that you're doing all the time. That's what you're looking for. And if you can figure out what that is, which is primarily just sort of documenting it over a course of a month or two, you can now put that into a workbook. And so that's a great way to do it, because it's relating exactly to what your clients are, and you're seeing what the problems. No client is the same, but you have a way that you do things and procedures and a thing you need to get. There's always some kind of information that you need to get from them. This can then become a workbook. It doesn't have to be a big, thick thing. It can be just something that you have them fill out to get the project going, to initiate things. I also discovered when I was a designer, I would have people come to my office, and I had a worksheet that I filled out. It was just a single page, name, address, phone, what the project is. And what it did is, when I had that worksheet, sometimes people would come, they'd sort of have this, conversation, not realizing that they were actually hiring me at that moment. They were just sort of rambling on. I would take that piece of paper out, put it on the desk in front of them, just casually, and I kind of fill it out, and you could see them changing, going, oh, this is a business transaction. This is a way we're billing. Okay, I see. We're starting the project. So it's a way of just sort of establishing the project, doing parameters, but you can kind of figure that out as you sort of go through your process. The same thing, we'll talk about this process a little bit in books when we get down. I think there's some other questions here, but the same process can go out of your book. But so I think this is great. And now you have something that you can give people when you show up. It makes you look more professional. You can email it to them and say, hey, fill this stuff out or get this ready when I come to do it. And it doesn't have to be paper. It can be PDF. It can be a fillable PDF. PDFs, you can create forms on the PDF. So I would I think it's a great idea. And to kind of look at what you're doing. And now it relates to what you're doing. You've just added an extra component to your process. Let me just put this on here. Okay. All right. Next question. Working on launching a company, and they want a guided journal that would be promoting questions, areas of writing their answers, and spots to glue pictures in. Would like to be an optional interactive workbook so they could eventually print. Maybe a whole different topic. They also have in here a journal of quotes with pictures and areas, and a workbook for goal setting. So this is 3 different books. And I think one of the things that I would say on this question is have many. Don't just lock yourself into just one book that sort of you're trying to make fit to lots of circumstances. Maybe you can find one that goes into different areas and does different things. So you just never know what the question is going to be, and you can break it into small pieces and go, this is for this project, and that's for that kind of project, and that kind of project. So it's a guided journal, sort of walks people through the things. The journal with quotes is great. In fact, Amazon and Ingram, which is the publisher that goes to bookstores, are sort of clamping down on all the blank journals that came out. And putting quotes into a journal is a great way to add more content. As long as there's some purpose on this journal, you can do that. So you can find quotes, put them around a page, and maybe I'll do the demo part a little later. I'll come in and show you how to do that. Workbook for setting goals. Again, that's like answering the questions. What are the goals? What are the questions that you ask? Put that out. Give people a place to interact on that, depending how you're presenting it. Might be a box, might be a space. All that kind of stuff. In fact, let me bring up. I'm just going to bring up the InDesign one here, so I keep mentioning things, but I think we can. Let's see here if we do this. Application. Then you can also see. So this is the InDesign template book that's now set in the site, and what I'm saying is you can go, so you can see all these little elements, these little design elements that are in here. And so you can set up, here, let me go like here. You can set up questions with tasks and put boxes where people can fill things in, or multiple things. You can do with lines like this, do with lines or spaces. So, or you can do things like this, where you just have a question or a task or something and have people fill that in. You can guide them through. Do this first, and do this second, and do this third. Whoops, it's gonna get away from me there. All right, let's see here. And if you have a question, just post it in the comments, and I will answer it. All right, the person's teaching. Oops, let me get my things back here. I teach an online class to kids only. I really want the workbook. I really want a workbook out of my class. I want to learn how to turn my lesson plans into workbooks or checklists. Okay, so let's talk about that. So one of the things that came up, we talked about this topic on Saturday in the Zoom call, but what I wanted to just sort of mention about this, I think this is great, and lessons, school is already leading itself in. There's a path. You're moving somebody from A to B. You have a bunch of assignments that you need to do, and you can just turn those into questions or tasks, or you can, activities, and give people a place to do it. It might just be one activity per page. It might be 2 activities per page. But one of the things I noticed, I had these books, I bought them a few years ago, and they're just the geography lesson plan. So what I'm saying is, and I thought they were just really well done. So let me just show you what I mean here. So these are just a lesson where they put a question or some kind of test, and then it's a place to put the answer. So you can just lead your students through this. These can be made very easily. You can make them as PDFs and send them, especially today with online distant learning. They might not be able to get hold of a book, but you can send them a PDF, and you can make this space in here clickable, so they could type the stuff right into the form and save it. So they have lines and stuff like that. They also have, this is on geography, so they have some facts and resources, which I think is a great thing to do. They have some maps the kids can color, so that's a really cool thing. And what else do they have? And that's kind of what they have in this. So they've kept it pretty simple. They just have some broken down by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Different things to do for each of those days. So you can do the same thing. And this is where I would say, you know, it's the same thing with the logbook I was talking about with the business thing is write down what you're doing on each day. What were the questions you asked? What was the activity you did? How did you do it? Because you're doing it as a natural flow of teaching. But when you get to the end of the day, you might go, I don't know what I did, or the end of the week. But if you can just sort of take a quick note, you can go back and recreate it. Now, here's the cool part about this. So this book is grade 6. And I picked these up at one of the teacher resource center stores. It was going out of business. They were selling everything. This is for grade 6. See right there, it says 6. This is for grade 2. All right. You can use some of the same content between the two books. Now, just I'll show you this. Let me just find a good example of this. You'll notice, so here, this is grade 6. The type is this size with lines, all right? And so they have the 2 pages of stuff. On the grade 2, it's much bigger type. It's bigger type, less lines, more space, simpler questions. It's basically the same information. It's just treated differently for a different grade. So, and the coloring things are just different, right? So each one is a little different, less stuff, bigger thing, bigger space than the grade 6 book. So I think this is a really interesting thing to do is you may have the same information for different audiences, and you can break that information down and do different things with it and make more than just one product. So Ed Gaskin did that with this book, where he had discussion questions in the back of the book. He turned it into a workbook for the discussion groups. So he took the questions that he posted in the back, which are right here, which anybody who's sort of writing sort of nonfiction business books, how-to books, all self-improvement books, often are posing questions for the person to ponder, to think about, to improve their life on. Those make perfect workbooks. That's what Ed did. Took these questions out, put some lines, and you had a book. Now what he did then is took the same information, the same questions, and then expanded it with some additional information and built a teacher guide, the leader guide. All right. So even if say you're creating curriculum material for your students, you can resell that. There are sites where you can resell your curriculum material, but also make the teacher guide. So your product becomes bigger. You get more stuff going on it. So that's just a thing to do. What the journals and the quotes is the teacher guides, the guided journals is think about not only can you do what you're initially doing, but what else can you do with it and repurpose that content in different ways. Or maybe there's a resource guide that goes with it or some checklists that go with it. So, so just some stuff to think about in terms of that. I teach online classes to kids. I really want to make a workbook out of my classes. I want to learn how to turn my lesson plans into workbooks. So again, as you can see, it's not that hard to take the questions. Let's get the 6th grade one, is to take the questions and put some lines under it or the activity places for the activity or all that kind of stuff. And here's so, you can do that. You can do that in Word. You can do it in PowerPoint. You can do it in Google Docs. You can do it in Google Slide. You can design any of the programs that I've talked about that you can create. You can get words and lines on a page, make a PDF. You have a workbook. And one of the things that to think about, and one of the key things, one of my key tips is I've been showing you books, but you don't have to make a book. A workbook can be a worksheet, a checklist sheet, So don't think you have to make that book and spend a year trying to figure it all out. Start with one page. That's usually my advice to people. Do a single page worksheet and give it to your students or give it to your clients or wherever it is you need to give it to and see what happens. You'll find that you can, you'll get it done. And let me just see if I have my stuff here. So you will get it done, and all you may need to be doing is handing somebody something like this. They can print this out. They're not printing out a 100-page PDF and using up all their ink. They can just print one page. You can get feedback, reactions, adapt it, add a second page, a third page. They're just as effective, and people will like them just as much. In fact, they'll probably appreciate it a lot more if you just give them a couple pages on your online talk, your teaching online, whatever it is. So then to kind of have to download this whole big book. And so that's my advice, is start with one piece of paper, just one PDF, one simple thing, and learn as you go and sort of put that together. So, all right, let's see here. What do we have? All right, another question. I coach a writing class where I introduce them to an opportunity to self-publish a book. The results, we publish an anthology of our writings. We're a class of senior citizens. An activity journal book geared to adults consists of puzzles and have them write about themselves, what they're grateful for, coloring pages, activities. So this is cool. This is a great thing. So let's talk about a couple things in here. And I pulled out a resource. I got me to dig around in my files. I'm reaching for it here. Let me dig around in my files for a course I had taken. So you're basically on part of this question is you're giving people a prompt sheet. You're guiding them through. So let's say they're writing a history about their lives. You don't necessarily always want them to start with on day so-and-so I was born and then kind of move from there. You can give them a series of questions. And if you go online, you'll find some great, let me just see if I can, let's just do this. I just try. I'm going to give it a whirl here, and let's go to Google, and I'm just going to do questions for legacy books. All right, and what you'll get, good questions to ask about a story. Here's 25 questions to get a story. So this quick, you can do this. Let's say you're creating a legacy book. Just type in questions for legacy books and look at this. This is just a website. I didn't even prep for this. I just kind of put it up, and here are the questions. What have you learned about? What is most surprising to you about? Where did you first hear about? So that's one on, I'm not even sure what this is about. Oh, to get the story. So trying to get a story. So let's see. Let's go to another one here. Life interview questions, the legacy project. So we just come down in here and nothing there. Let's find a better one. 20 questions to ask your parents to begin your family. There's a good one. So here's questions to ask. So what year were you born? How many siblings do you have? Where do you fall among your siblings? Which sibling? Why were your parents living in that place at the time? So these are fantastic questions. And if you are making a project like this where you're working with people, you can come up with a list of questions. Primarily, just go to the web if you can't think of them all, and just type in, the questions about whatever the topic is, and you'll come up with a great list of questions. And then that becomes a prompt sheet that you can hand them, and they fill it out. Now that they've filled it out, they have basically the content of the story, and now you are teaching them how to stitch together. So that's it's a way of working with, in this case, her question is with senior citizens, but it's a way of working with people to help them build their book, but you're using little mini questions that you're asking people. Everybody can say, well, why were you living in this town? Or what year were you born? Or, all those kinds of things. And then they can put all that together. So the other second half of that question had to do with puzzles and activities for adults. And I'm just going to show you this as a great resource. So a few years ago, I took a course by a guy named Tony Lydon, Ligdig, Leidig. And he has a course called Make Activity Books. I'll put the address right there, Make Activity Books. And it's an entire course on where to get the content to make puzzles to put into an activity book. So he went through, it's still live. I checked it before coming on, and you can easily create and own hot-selling puzzle books and publish them on Amazon. So this was a really cool course on how to make those puzzles that you see in puzzle books, all the little mazes, the spelling things, the word puzzle things. I'm not a puzzle person, as you can see, but it was a really interesting course on how to put that together. And if you were making activity books, so we have advanced puzzle design. I don't have any connection to him at all, other than I thought it was a great course, and he's a really good teacher. And he has a lot of courses on publishing, but it was as a resource. If you want to do that thing, I'll just give you that address again. Oops, put it there, makeactivitybooks.com. It was a great resource. So a great question, because it got me to go, I don't throw anything away. It's all around me. And this was a good one to go and dig out and get some information so somebody can do it. So if you're leading people through on a guided thing like this, with geared towards adults, give them prompt sheets that they can then just fill out, and you can send that out to them. And so when they come to your course, say, here's the things. I need you to fill out these 25 questions. When they show up at your workshop, they're ready to go. You're not spending most of your workshop trying to figure out where you were born. You can just say, okay, how do we put all this information together into one cool project? So think about that. Think about a prompt workbook to get people to do the things you need them to do to come and be prepared for your coaching, your consulting, your workshop, your whatever it is you're doing. That's the way to do it. So, okay, that's adult. All right. Let's see. Workbook to go with virtual grief relief. We had such a wide variety, which is why I had to change how I was going to lay this out. So a person's putting together a book for virtual grief relief. So if somebody who's going through a death, and this way they can, again, have questions, that they can prompt questions to talk about their feelings, about the experiences they have with this person, all that kind of stuff. And again, you can probably find those questions if you don't already know them, just by searching on that kind of a phrase, like questions about grief relief, questions like questions around fishing, questions around, legacy books. They're there. They're just, people have lists of questions. You're not copying them. You're using for inspirations. Many of them you already will know, but you'll go, oh, I didn't think about that one. I didn't think about that one. And you'll write it in your own words. So let's see here. All right. Let's see. Supplements to get students to buy for class. So this is sort of the lead magnet thing. And I'm going to show you somebody who's done a very interesting thing. And so if those of you who don't know what a lead magnet is, so all those ads you see on Facebook, and where you can get a free PDF, you can get a free report, you can get something for free, a free book. Those are lead magnets. They're something to get a lead or an email address. They're magnets that are attractive, that make you want to go there and get them and download that thing. And then the person has an email address and can send you things. So you can use checklists, workbooks and checklists make great lead magnets where you put together some information. That's one of the things we talked about in like in Nancy May's book, which I really encourage you to, if you jump into the class, is to go look at her case study, where I talk about, we talk about all the checklists in here, but you could easily put together checklists, of the information that's in her book, and then have that as a PDF download that someone can take down. So, and then you can also take that checklist and turn it into a workbook by sort of rephrasing these, or just leave them there and put some lines in between or spaces in between. So you can have a checklist and a place to add all the content. So like her checklist for the end of life file, the name, gender, date of birth, home address, emergency contact, social security number, blood pressure numbers, medical numbers, prescription drugs that the person's taking, medical summary, list of doctors. And it goes on for lots of different information. It's a very cool little book. And but that's something that you can advertise and promote on your website to say, here's a free checklist on XYZ. Just click here, put your email address, and download this checklist. They have your email address. Now they can send you more information. So they're very easy to produce because you probably have already written them in your book. You already have them somewhere, and you can do it. So let me just show you. I just want to show you a, let's go to here. So this came across my desk today. I was, oh, there we go. Let's do this. So this came across my desk today. It was an email that came from James Wedmore, and he's been doing business by design. I have followed him for years. He's taught video, and now he teaches people how to create their businesses online. And this was his all access page for a summit that he sort of put together. And you'll notice some very cool stuff. So they're just videos about it. But over here on the side, look at this, right here. Whoop, download the workbook. He just built it into the page. And this could be a product that you sell, or it could be if you just had a page like this. Like this is part of a summit, so you have to kind of come through an email to get here. But you could just have a page like this on your site with all kinds of cool information. Maybe this is videos from a course. And over here on the right or the left, but usually people put them on the right, you have something like this, download the workbook. So let's just do it. Let's just go download the workbook. So I'm just going to click on it, and it just downloads. And it's just a nice workbook that parallels the videos that he has. So he's tied the two together. He did the videos. I don't know which one he did first, probably did them at the same time. But you'll see here, there's just text. It could be the text of the opening video. And if I just come down here, it's a PDF, so he didn't print anything. So it's nice and colorful. And see these forms with the little blue in here? So this is just a key point from the video that you then listen to. And when he says this sentence, the activity is to just type in whatever that is. They make a blank to take the blank. Now, I don't know what that is. I have to watch the video. So he's very much into video marketing. But the whole back end of this workbook is, so there's episode 1 and episode 2, episode 3, just different kinds of very simple. You just sitting here and you just type what you want to type. Very simple workbook, but just kind of fun elements. You can see his branding. We talked about branding in the class, and when we talked about different things like the header file or the master page of your InDesign or your Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. He just branded it. He did the same thing that I talked about. He put his copyright down here. And he's got his web address here. These are key things on your workbook to just put them down in the footer. He put his logo down there. So if you printed this out, all of his information goes along with it. And this is just a freebie that you can download. You notice each one is a little different, but basically they're the same. He's just pulling the key points out of his videos. Your sales system. You can do this. Anybody can do this. Doesn't have to be, 8. He has 8 videos. It could be 2 videos. Remember we talked about double 2 columns? Maybe I'll show that in a moment. And that's it. Here's a little formula here you have to do. There's nothing fancy here. This is a very easy thing to do in Adobe Acrobat on your PDF forms. And there's an online version. I put a resource in the Hidden Treasures book at the back of it. You'll see there's a resource for where you can do this online. You don't need really anything. You can just sort of compile all this. And you'll notice these match his videos. So use the workbook with the videos. You get to learn. You get to reinforce it. And it's just a very cool. And that just came, I just came across my desk today. I'm on his list, and it just kind of showed up. So that was kind of fun to see it, and to see somebody who's using a workbook and using it in a really correct way to enhance the marketing, to add to the experience. to do more and more stuff. So let's see if anybody wants to speak. No, I guess we're all right. All right, let's move on to the next question. If you have a question, drop it in and we can do it, or we can also, if you want to come on, I think I can set this up. I have the link here and we can do the questions live a little bit. So, all right, so the next question, let's see. Students get to clean. Sometimes you get students to buy the class. Yeah, so the two can go together. I'm considering having a companion workbook for a program I created. I also want to create a workbook that can be expanded to a book. So this is, the second half of this question is what Reese did, creating, where's my book? So he used a workbook to create this book, right? So Reese is Australian. In 2019, I think it was 2019, he took 21 ranchers, Australian ranchers, to the United States for a tour around the West and visited all kind of ranches. And we talk a lot about, we have a case study on this. It's in the course, so you can go make sure you look at it because it's flipping this the other way. He gave to each of them basically a notebook, workbook kind of thing for them to record what was going on, where they were going. It had a list of all the members from the tour. It was a hugely successful tour and a great experience for them. And had a map of where they were going to stay and, you know, all the kind of stuff. And it was just, it added a nice component to the whole experience for them. You know, they showed up, they get their book. You know, we all like to get the t-shirt and the hat and the stuff. And you kind of go, oh, I've come to the right place. I've paid a lot of money to go do this. And they have a book. They have a thing that I'm supposed to do, a place I can record. If you remember, I showed you the, I did this one funnel away challenge, a course with Russell Brunson. It was a month-long challenge. And this is one of the best workbooks I've ever seen. But you can see what I did is I took 1 million notes because there was just so much content. And it gave me a place to organize my notes. I don't know if I could ever get it all back in there. If I dropped this and everything fell out. But it was a fantastic place to go just slot everything in, along with being a fantastic book of the challenge with little activities to do, the videos we're seeing, links to the videos, all that kind of stuff. So it was a really great thing. So then they took those workbooks, they took the information from those workbooks and pulled it all together and created a book like this. So it talks about each ranch that they went to. It highlights the things they did. You know, they had different sort of activities and things that they did. It just pulls it all together. And then this book was given as a gift to everybody that went on the tour, also as a gift to everybody that they visited. So, you know, 21 people show up on your doorstep, and you're going to be feeding them and guiding them and showing things and teaching them. It's a really nice thank you to get a nice book like this. So that process can work really well. You just want to think about your book, your workbook. Make sure you're capturing the information that you want to use to create your book, right? So you have a real opportunity to, I'll put this here. I have piles of workbooks over here. It's a great, you just want to think about what do I need my book to do? And make sure I capture that kind of information. You can put, they also in that workbook put boxes where you could put pictures in, you know, all kinds of stuff. It can be like a little scrapbook. It can be whatever you want it to be. And they only printed up, I think, you know, less than 25 of them for all the people that went on the trip. So it's not very expensive. The trip was expensive, and it's part of the stuff that you do. So, so a great thing to do. So a companion workbook for a program, it just gives it that authority, makes people feel like they're in the right place, they belong here, and then they have a place to put stuff. And one of my points that I brought out, I don't know, in one of the videos that I was talking about in the course, is I also think workbooks slow down your event for you, for the participant. You know, we've all been to conferences. I went to the Russell Brunson Big Funnel Hacking Live in February in Nashville. It was 4 days of just like a fire hose of information. But every day he gave you And where did I put that? I put it up there, I think. Every day he gave, I was just thinking if I could put my fingers on it. He gave you a printout of the info. Oh, I should have pulled that. It was really great because it was just a small, I'm just looking to see if I can see it. But it was, I'm sure it's here and I'm sure I'll find it. Let me just, no. I don't think I have it here. I know I have them, but I can't put my hands on them. But anyways, it was a 11 by 17 sheet folded in half with that day's activities on it for each of the different sessions. And it gave you a place, one, to see what was coming up, a place to write stuff down. It was very easy to produce on their hand. You could photocopy this thing. I wish I knew where that was. Because it was really good. But it was 4 days, but it wasn't a great big thick book. It was just a page or 4 pages, which would be just this folded in half, 11 by 17, just folded in half. And that made a great companion piece. It made it feel like, you belong here. Oh, what I'm going to say why it slows down is I don't have to spend the time writing the notes that are up on the screen. We've all gone to conferences and events where everybody's sitting there photographing the screen in front of them because they're writing down your information and then they're writing down their information. So they're scribbling like mad to get all this stuff down. And you can make people have a more enjoyable experience if they don't have to write all your notes from the screen into their notebook. And they just have to put their thoughts about it. So you've cut in half the amount of effort that they have to do. So having that as a companion piece for a workshop, I think is it's just a great, it makes the whole experience just go better and you feel like, I'm doing the right thing. So, all right, let's see here. Another memoir, how to a photo essay. The program is easier than Word. So, the production part of all this, I'm going to say there probably isn't a program too much easier than Microsoft Word to lay these things out in. Unless you're getting complicated, you're doing this. So you're adding a thing, and this is just dotted, underlined. So you can then just repeat it 3 times and then another question, or it's making a box, it's this kind of a thing. Or this is a little more complicated. That kind of stuff's more complicated, but this is fairly easy to do. So I'll do a little demo of some different component pieces in a moment, and we'll see. So I think you are going to have to learn how to use it, but these are very simple parts of these programs to put together. And you'll learn it as you go. Time your time on page 2. You've got it. So we had a kid's gardening book. I like to make a beginning gardening workbook. So turning a children's garden journal into an adult or teacher resource journal, or form a lead magnet book about herbs and living and cold and flu. So that goes to what I was saying before about taking the same content like this and presenting it in 2 different ways, or like Ed Gaskin did with his book, taking the workbook part and the leader part. So let's see here. Yeah, there it is. Graham, do you want to come on? Let me see here. Do you want to come on? I can send you the link here if you want to. Just put a thing in there. It allowed me to create all of this. Yeah, we worked a lot on these books, and we came up with a wonderful book. It was really, really good. And but the here, let me I'll try and see if we can do it. And we're stretching technology from here to you can come. I'll give you the link, and you can come on if you want to come on. There we go. All right, it'll come into the room, and we can talk about that. But yeah, so I think having a child's version and an adult version, having ones of different levels and things, is a great way to go, and it gives you a more complete package, more stuff, and it's a fun thing to be able to do that, and it also expands your content. You have it, and you can sort of build all that out. So yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Let's see if Graham comes in from Australia. I can't figure out what time it is there. So usually we talk late at night or early in the morning. So it might be in the middle of the night. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. I have one more question. These are all fantastic questions. And if anybody's sort of building a course or putting together a course, I really highly recommend putting out a questionnaire just to find out what people are doing, just the depth and breadth. And for all members, I'm going to be sending out another questionnaire about what you think and where I could have improved and done things better. So anyways, that's that. I think I'm creating content studies, language, gardening. Yeah, so we've covered that. So yeah, I think I agree 100%. Children's Garden Journal and adult one, put resources in the adult one. Ed Gaskin in his leader one, he went out and found reports from different nonprofits on youth groups and teens and all that kind of stuff. And so when he gives out, people buy this leader book, basically this is a training for someone who is going to become a leader in a youth group dealing with these sort of tough issues to kind of deal with. So yeah, it's a great thing to do. All right, so let's see here. We did some questions. Let's do a little. I want to show you the InDesign, sort of how to make some of these things. Unless Graham wants to come in here or Nabi wants to come in here, and we'll have a little conversation. Let's turn this off. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm going to close this. And what I want to do is bring up InDesign, because that's the last one. That's the last piece of the puzzle. And I'll just show you a little bit how to make some of these elements. When I did the survey, most people were using Microsoft Word, and then PowerPoint, and then a few were using InDesign. So InDesign was what I was using. And remember, we're closing at 6. The whole workshop, the deal, the coupon. Where's my coupon? This closes at 6 o'clock, so another 40 minutes or so. So I'll do some training. If anybody has a question, give me those questions, and I will try to answer them. And then we'll have a group. And then next Monday at 3 o'clock, I'll be sending out a email with a Zoom link, and we'll be doing sort of one-on-one and hearing about your projects and what you have going on. So, and the link to the course still open for another 40 minutes is above or below, and you can get in on that. So let's see here. Let's go to here. All right. So what I'm going to do is bring up, let's do a screen share. And I'm going to show my screen. I'm just going to show you how I make some of these products. So how to make some of these pages. So this is the InDesign work template elements book. And what I ended up doing with this, make it right there, so if somebody's a comment, I can see it, is instead of making a whole book, and I've included in the whole work, the masterclass, there's an 8.5 by 11 and a 6 by 9, 140-page template books plus cover. So I've included ones for InDesign and ones for PowerPoint, a full book template you can use that you can take out what's in there and put in new stuff. But what I just ended up figuring out for designing was, instead of trying to design a book on a workbook, because everybody's so different, is to create some elements that you can sort of pick up and use in your book. So you can make your own, or you can use these. And I also did a training videos for a Word one, a PowerPoint one, and an InDesign on how to make all of these different elements. I went through and just talked about all of them. So what I'm going to do is just show you how I make, just do a couple different ones here that are common. So I'm going to bring up a new page. So I'm in InDesign, which is a sort of a high-end graphic design program. And we will do, let's let this whirl for a second here. It's always a lot of stuff going on. So we do new document. And this is, I'm just going to show you a little bit how I kind of set things up. Oh, we have a comment while that's going. Let me just check my comment. Hi, Brenda. Yeah, thank you for coming in. Yeah, we had your question. So let's just put that up on the screen. All right, here we go. Thank you for coming. Oh, Graham is here. Oh, let's do this. This is fun. Let me do, here, let me come out of this. Then we'll come back to the InDesign. So let's do this. And Graham is here. There's Graham, and here we are. Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So isn't this amazing? We are talking to Australia. It's like, whoa, you can't get any further away. So, so this is Graham Reese, who I worked with on creating of this book, and I'm going to show them the workbook. That oh, there it is. And there's the workbook. So Graham took and created a workbook that then he created a book out of. So I did the process the other way, and you can see that each rancher took the book with them, and then they had these exercises where they had to put Post-it notes on key things. Like, where's that? Let me find that. While you're doing that, I'm going to show that. So look at this. Look at this. This is, see those Post-it notes that Graham's showing there? This is how they ended up. So you can really be interactive with your workbook as part of your tour or whatever it is you're doing. So Graham, talk a little bit about that book and how you that came about.
Yeah. Good. Hello, everybody. I say good morning because it's early Sunday morning here in Saturday morning in Australia. I don't even know what day it is. Good. Yes. So I took 20 farmers on a tour of the USA for 3 weeks. And the thing that I recognized was 20 people, 3 weeks, and we had 1 day off in those 3 weeks. We did about 4,500 miles. We started in Dallas. We ended up right up in Montana. We were going to learn a lot. We were visiting a lot of ranches and getting lectures every single day. And luckily, I just had the foresight to go, I think we need somewhere for them to record everything each day. And boy, when we got to the end, we spent a day in a room with all those sticky notes, and we went through every single place. And what was great is everybody could pull out of their workbook their notes, and we were able to create the summary, which allowed us to create the book.
So you can see I'm holding up the picture there of everybody interacting with that information that came from the workbook.
And I think that's, I was lucky that I had the people for that long. But the interesting thing is, we often go to a training and then we don't have anyone to review with. They had 19 other people to sit there and review with and discuss that. And then when we came back, we worked closely with you to learn how to put this book together, and we'd taken thousands of photos. And so what a great gift, to give. They didn't know I was producing this, so I was able to just mail this to them. I didn't even say it was coming, and some of the comments were just, they were just over the moon that they had this record. And the other thing we did is, those ranchers gave up their time, and we sent each of one of them a copy. And some of those people we visited, they just become good friends and they want to come to Australia. So you don't know what comes out of these things, right? Bruce, but I think the thing I would say to people is, we tend to overthink things, and what you do really well is you say, just say yes, just do it. And then Bruce says, just say yes.
Just say yes.
Don't argue with me, just say yes. And then you give me every single step along the way. And it's what I thought was complicated was actually quite simple. Now, I learned how to use InDesign from you. And, I have to say, I'd use those other programs. But I guess I'm an addict now for InDesign because it's just so easy and beautiful. And so I would encourage anybody who's, and I can't think of anyone that wouldn't want some sort of a workbook, your own personal workbook, just to use for yourself.
Show and Graham's workbook is really quite simple. It just has, I think it just has really 4 pages, right? I think it's
Yep. So
4 pages. So
I'll just hang on. So we did in the start, we had the names and contacts of everybody on the trip. So when they got home, they could easily contact each other. And then we had the itinerary, so people could see what the itinerary was. And then each ranch was just a place to put notes for the day while they were there. And then that night, there was a place to put the reflection. Hang on. So there's a place to put the reflection. So they could reflect. I gave them 3 questions. They could write what they want, and then you know, they all had. I gave them some Sharpie pens and some sticky notes in their backpack. And so it's about being prepared. And I think it was very easy to make. I mean, it's 4 pages, and I just took it to the local printers, and they printed for me.
And put the spiral binding on it, which you can.
The spiral binding on it.
Any local printer can do that.
And when and before the trip, we all met in Sydney, and I also gave them a backpack and a cap and all of that, and a shirt, and they pull out the book, and they go, "Wow, you've made a book!" You know, so it just raises the level. And you've got to remember, these people spent well over $10,000 on this trip. So it's amazing how a little $20 book can actually lift the experience for the people.
It gave them a feeling that this is a professional organization who thought out what they're going to be doing, gave them a place to write down all the information that they're going to be learning, and feelings and tips and all that kind of stuff. And otherwise, you're just scrambling around. Everybody is putting it on, you know, note cards or, you know, whatever they have in their pocket. And this way, this is the comment I have, is that having notebooks, whether it's on a trip or it's on an event, it slows the process down, because now they don't have to sort of scramble to write down what's on the wall. But in your case, they don't have to scramble to everybody's sort of scribbling on pieces of paper that they might have or they don't have. You've given them a central place to put all that information. So,
and I think the thing, you know, probably the last thing I'd say is that, you know, your grandchildren can pull out these books,
right?
And or, you know, you just years later you can go back and review and reflect on your trips. And I often pull that out, because it's like reliving the trip again. Like putting the book together literally was reliving the trip again.
That's right. And we sat in Montana. I flew out at the end of the trip, and we sat in Montana over a couple summer nights around a fire, going through all this material and thinking about it and saying, you know, we can put a book like this together. Little did we know how much work it was going to be.
Well, that's exactly right. Like Bruce is we came out to get together and spend a couple of days, and we're sitting by the fire, and he goes, "So, what are you going to do with all that information? You got 20 people with books. Are you going to create a book?" I hadn't even thought about creating the book when we did it. So you don't know what comes out the other side, and what was easy was creating the book in a way. You know, there's a bit of work in sorting the photos,
right?
But luckily, I'd already put all the photos each day. I Dropboxed the photos from each ranch, so actually it was all named. So that was good, and I didn't write that book. I actually sourced it from the group.
Right.
And so
it was group generated content that you just organized.
Well, one of the things we did, and this is you know, this is an aside from Workbooks, but if you're going to do things and put a trip together, one of the things we did is each person was a trail boss for the day. And so, well, they were the trail boss till we got to Colorado, and they lost the badge, so then they became a sheriff. But that person was responsible for everything that happened on that day, including writing up the day. And so that was the other thing we did in the book, is we interviewed we sent out a form, and each person filled in some information, what they got out. So it's not just stories of who we visited. It's actually stories of the people that went. You know, and we had a 13-year-old girl on the trip. One of the families took their kids, and excuse me, and one of the questions was, what did you think the trip was going to be like? And this girl goes, Amelia, shouldn't call her a girl. So Amelia says, I thought I'd be dragged by mum and dad from ranch to ranch looking at boring things. And then the last question was, anything else to add? When's the next trip?
Set the mood.
So, you know,
yeah.
that's a huge resource for them as well. So
right.
I look, there's and look, I'm inside the workbook training, and you've done a phenomenal job, Bruce. Like the work you put into it, it's just going to help anybody. I'm looking forward to meeting some of the people in the other side.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun putting it together, and I did it, which is the first time I've done a course on the fly, where I had no content at the beginning of it and had to create all of it in 3 weeks and figure it out. But it was a real learning experience, but doing the questionnaire at the front really helped me, because it told me these are the kinds of people that are in here. This is the kind of information they need. And it was so varied that it made me go in different directions to kind of put the content together, which is why I came up with the elements idea of just take the elements that you need, or the training shows the different, how to make these different, because there really aren't that many elements you're going to put in a workbook. There's going to be a question with some lines, there might be some boxes, there's a checklist. So it's the elements are pretty simple, but they're hard if you don't know how to make it, or you haven't made that kind of thing before. So that's what the training covers, that in Word, PowerPoint, and InDesign. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And then it just, I kind of opened up, like, how do you publish this? How do you market this? What do you do with it? And where do you find the information? And then one of my favorite things to do is, what else can you do with this information? Repurpose it. Can you make, can you use it with your podcasts or your videos or your marketing? It really becomes a tool that you can use to build your business around and to expand your products into bundles and packages and courses. So,
and having a template like that was last year's book. We would do a New Zealand trip in April, which CV19 put on hold for 12 months. But it was very simple for me to just go and change the template, change the master to the New Zealand trip 2020. And I guess I'm going to have to go back and change the master to New Zealand trip 2021.
2021, right?
But straight away, I had a workbook. You create something once, and then you can use it for so many other things. Just tweak it a little bit. Right.
Just use it over and over and over again. So, well, very cool. Good.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for stopping in from. It's amazing.
You got me out of bed. I was in bed watching, so I had to get out of bed.
I never know. We talk on the ends of the days when it's a different time, but that's okay. I appreciate that you came in, joined in, because you had a great success with yours and Graham's video, that the case study that we talk about in the course. So Graham contributed to that. We go into this with a lot of good detail and a nice compact package that sort of explains all these things. So fantastic. All right, I'll let
Thank you, Bruce.
Get going with your morning.
On the other side.
All right, bye-bye. That was great. Great. Thanks a lot. That was fantastic. I love having people come in. So that's good. So let me just go in. I'm going to go back. Let's go back and we'll look at do a little InDesign. I'm just going to show you in all of these things. Basically, it's the same in either program, whether it's Word or PowerPoint or InDesign. The basic concepts are pretty much going to be the same. So we started with a new document, and let this sort of whirl itself up here. And I'm going to just change this to inches so that you can see it's 8.5 by 11. It's just a standard page. We'll leave it at 10 pages. I usually work with one column to start, but you'll change them. And I usually like having, let me just make my outer margins a little bit wider, and especially if you're going to put a spiral binding on it, like this, you might want to leave a little extra space at the center so that things kind of fit a little better. If you're printing it or just PDF, it's not quite as important, but if you're going to put a spiral binding. So that's all we need to do. Don't do any of this stuff down here, the bleed slug. And we'll just open this up. And we'll put these side by side. I'll just show you how to do it. And we'll kind of, all right, so let me pull out, let's pull this one out like so. And this is just InDesign. I said this is Adobe product. People rent this product now, used to buy it. And let's put this here and put that there. So you can just sort of see. Let's do this, close this up here. I'll just show you just some simple things that you can do. And basically what I'm going to show you here, you can do in the other programs also. So I'll just kind of show you things that are simple. And this is just the InDesign window. You have a toolbar here, tool palette with different tools, pointer, line tools, type, and boxes is probably all you're going to need. There's some palettes here on the side that give you some control over pages and swatches and colors and things like that. And then up at the top, whatever you're doing, like let's say we drew a box, you will have the appropriate tools. Let's just close this. You'll have the appropriate tools. There we go. That work with that product, work with that item. So in this case, it's a box, so you can change the width of the rule that runs around the outside. You can change its size. You can do different things. And if we had type, and I just made a text box here, and you have type things. So it's always appropriate for what is going on. So let's just take. I'm just going to do a couple different things. This, I have a whole training on this, the InDesign training. I take you through pretty much every element that's in this template that you get. You get this template, plus you get the training that goes along with it. And these are all live things. So let's just take some text. I'm just going to take this text. So a common thing, and Graham had it in his book, was just a question. So I'm just going to make a text box right here. And I copied it over there, and now I'm going to just paste it in this document. So paste. And then a really common thing to do is make a question with some lines. So we're just going to come down, just going to paste this down with my return. I'll open up. This is the text box, and it's flexible. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and just hit the underline key. About as simple as you can do. And you can do this in Word, do it in PowerPoint. There's pretty sophisticated line tools right here built into InDesign. You can do a huge amount of stuff, but the simplest line is just hold down the Shift key and hit the underline key, and that's it. You have a line. So now I'm going to just click on it, select it. I'm going to copy it. A couple spaces, a couple returns, hit paste, and I get a line. And I hit paste again, and I get a line. And that's simple. We have, I just want to make sure this is, yep, it's going good. There we go. There's our question. Ready for the first one. It's all done, just like that. So whatever your question or task and some lines, how people can write it, put it on the page. If you wanted some more of them, I could just select this copy. I could copy it. I'm going to turn on invisible so you can kind of see. I often recommend doing this, especially in Word or in InDesign. You can see the spaces. You can see a few spaces. I'm going to do paste. And there's question, text, edit this text, and you're ready to go. So one of the things that I try to emphasize, and I did it in all the videos, is do something once. So make your element. So in this case, this is the element. This is sort of the question element. And then just duplicate it a whole bunch of times, and then just change what you need to change. You don't need to keep redoing stuff over and over again. So that's an easy thing to do. So I really like InDesign. Yeah, no, let me just, I'll put that, Brenda's saying, I'm starting to really like InDesign. Thank you for your classes. You make it so easy. Yeah, InDesign is once you're moving a little bit above, out of the word processing world, you're going to InDesign. It just gives you so much flexibility. There is definitely a learning curve, but if you're going to be sort of making a variety of books and different kinds of books and different things, InDesign is definitely, once you get hooked on it, you understand, like Graham says, and Brenda's saying here, you'll get it. So it just has so much power to it. So that's right. So now we have it. I'm not going to go through the whole using a tab. I do that in the in the video, but this is about as simple as you can get. And this, what I just showed you, works with Word and PowerPoint and Google Docs and Google Slides and InDesign and Pages. They all basically operate the same. This sort of just making a line using the underline thing. So let's put, sometimes you might want, so let's show you 3 different ways. So that's the underline way. We're going to take these out. I'm just deleting them. All right. So we'll just do this. A lot of times you'll see workbooks with just spaces between them. All right, I'm going to turn off the hidden characters right here in the type menu. And it's just a series of questions running down the page with some space between them. That's about as easy as you can get it. I mean, if you can type a question, put 7 or 8 spaces, type another one, and type another one. It's all you need to do. I mean, you really have it. So that's way 2. We did one with lines. We did one with spaces. Let's put boxes. Sometimes people like boxes. So over here on the side, I have a box tool. And let me just set, I want to put the lines right here so we see them. I'm just going to do that. All right, so I'm going to grab my box tool, and I'm just going to click on it. You see that little cross? I clicked selected box, a little cross, and just going to open it out, and we have a box, just like that. All right. Do this. There we go. We have a box, and you can fill in the box. You want another box? We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it. And that's going to go right there. And let's paste one more box. And maybe we have 2 that are that size, or we can just open this up and make a bigger box. So like Graham had in his, he had 4 boxes on a page. Let me just show you how to do that. Easy way to do it. So here's a blank page. I'm going to go to layout, and this is where the power of InDesign comes. I have column margins and columns. I'm just going to go to columns. I'm going to make 2 columns. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm just going to make it a little bit wider, like so. Like that, maybe half-inch column in between. Hit OK. And now I'm going to take my box tool. I'm going to hold my shift key so it's square. And now I have a box. Now I'm going to copy it and paste it. And this is what Graham had done on his, where he had people put their sticky notes, their Post-it notes in this area. We'll make 2 more boxes. And we just kind of line it up. And there are built into here some rules. I use these all the time. Up in the ruler on the top or the outside, I can pull down a ruler and I can use it to line things up. And now we have that page with those boxes. It's so just sort of straightforward and simple to do something like that. So, and you can do all of that in the other programs too. Pretty much almost as easy. This might be a table in Word. In PowerPoint, you can do the boxes and just arrange them on the page, and you have boxes. Now, let's go here. You can see where I did a box this way. I did a box with a line in the middle. I did 2 boxes side by side. So you can kind of set it up however you want. You can do 2 columns. Let's just do a 2-column thing. Let's take these out of here. Let's just grab all this. And I'm just going to type, maybe you have a bulleted list of something that you're going to say. I'll need you to fill in. In fact, the one we looked at on James Wedmore had 2 columns exactly like this. I'll just make them super simple. I'm going to open up my text box. And I'm just going to type topic 1. All right. And I'm going to select that. I'm going to center it. And now what I'm going to do is just come under. I'm just like a simple way to do it. I'm going to hold my shift key. If I was doing this normally, I might make these lines, but this works just as well. I'm going to copy that. I'm down 2, down 2, down 2, down 2, down. Oops. 2. All right. And now we have a single column. Let's just copy this. Copy. Paste. And we'll put this right here. And I'm just going to put a bullet in front of it. So I can, I'm on a Macintosh, I can do the Option 8. And I'll just put a space. And I can add a bullet. Or I can go to Type. insert layouts. And I know all the PC ones, there's a different way of doing bullets. You can do it, but here, look at right here, built into the program, special characters, symbol, bullet. And I usually put a space so it stands out a little bit. I'm going to copy this and just paste it in front of each line, and I have a bullet list item. So maybe you were telling somebody you're doing a workshop. You say, I need you to write down, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different ways that you can do whatever it is you're going to have them do. So just very, very easy to do it. So we're getting close to 6. Let me just put the, let's just put up the workbook number, the code, the coupon, $50 coupon. It clicks, the link is above, the link is below. You can use this coupon, and you can use it to get $50 off your stuff. So let's just look at what else we have. So here's a simple one where it was just a question or a task, and I just, again, just dotted lines, just used the underline key and just duplicated it. Pretty straightforward thing to do. Here's one with boxes, different sizes, and these are just laid on the page. I also, in the training, we talk a lot about, I talk somewhat about your branding and adding some logo treatment. You notice what James Wedmore did that on his. So this is a header, sort of in the header on InDesign. It's on the master pages. In Word, it's in the header and footer. Down here's the footer area and the header area. In PowerPoint, it's on the master slides. So somewhere in the program, there's a way of putting, you notice I can touch these things and move them around, but I can't touch these because it sits on a master page, and it shows up, as you see, on every single page. So just like that. So let's just do, this is one that I spent some time on. Number of people had talked about having a course, and workbooks are wonderful additions if you have a sort of a step-by-step course. You're teaching painting, you're showing people how to do sewing or gardening or whatever it is, and there's sort of steps that go along with that. And you can take photographs as you go along, you know, like do the course one time, photograph all the steps, and then you can come back and create basically a workbook type thing with notes, so that every step is there. The students can write things down. So let me just make one of these really quickly. So first thing I want to do is bring in a photograph, and I had made took a series of photographs. I'm making a stool. So let me go to, let me just find that here. Boom, there we go. And down here, document graphics. So I'm just going to bring in, I'm using the place command in InDesign. In Word and in PowerPoint, it's the insert command, but I'm just going to bring in the place command. So here it is. And I just brought that photograph in. If you think you're going to print your book at some point, these need to be 300 dots per inch. That's the king. So I can now resize this. So this is in PowerPoint. And again, you can do similar things in the other programs. And to crop, you'll notice if I click off of it, it's a clean edge. If I click on it, you'll see the handles. I can just crop this like so. And I have my photograph, and I can size it. I'm going to make this one right to that corner right there. And then I'm going to just take my type tool, and I'm going to put a type box in here. We'll do this really simple. I'm just going to use the underline key again. Instead of drawing lines, I'm just going to do this. Sometimes it's just easy. I use the tab key with underline, and it makes a really controllable line that you can get where it goes to. And 3. Let's do 4. All right, so look at that. We now have sort of, people can write out their thoughts. So if I'm teaching about how to notch out a leg, so that might be part of the demo, and I'm showing it being notched here, and then you can type in, get those little lines out of the way. You can then, people can write in their thoughts about it. And then the other thing I need to do is just put a bar over the top, and we're going to say notching the stool legs. And then I'm going to put notes. Right? We're going to select that copy. We're just going to give it a point, a typeface. And I go through each of these steps when I break these books down of how I do this. But I'm just doing it kind of quickly here because we're getting right now next to 6 o'clock. And then I'm going to just tab this, bring up my tab menu. And this allows me to place a tab wherever I want. So I'm going to put a tab right here. And then I'm going to tab that over. Get this out of the way. Bring this up here. Maybe make it just a little bit bigger. And now I have this element that I can use to create my workbook. And as I said, make it once, select it, group it, duplicate it over and over and over again, and you make all of the pieces that you need. So hopefully, and there's just lines, and we just kind of go through checklists. This is just putting a little box here, that kind of stuff. So hopefully that makes some sense. That's just the InDesign thing. Let's see. We have are you offering the template? Yes. So this template, the template elements is in the course. So they're all loaded in. In fact, let me bring that back up. And let's get that up here. So I showed this right at the beginning. So this is what is in the, it's just there, it's template. So this is everything that's in the course. And you have the intro and the core material that I do the teaching on stuff. Ooh, I have way too many things here. Let's make this a little simpler so that we can, I can show this application. And there you go, InDesign, and get this out of the way. Okay, thanks. Yep, do that. So what I've done then is done a template packet of elements for one for Word, one for PowerPoint, and one for InDesign, which is I was just using theirs. And then there's a video training for each one of those. So there's 3 video trainings, one for each program. And they're all right here. If you sort of come down this is the download page where all the content is. You'll see there's a video training for Word, one for PowerPoint, one for InDesign, and then the template elements, then the case studies, that one of them was Graham, who just came in and stars, and then the book. So all that stuff is in there now. Everything is uploaded, and it's all doing good. So hopefully that does that. So all right, I think we are good here. We are just getting up to the 6 o'clock hour when things close. I'll leave it open just a little bit longer if anybody wants to sort of jump in for a little bit. I'll just let it stay open, and then we'll be closing that up later this evening. And let me put that up here. So links up above, links down below where you can find it. There is the coupon code. Put that here of the workbook open. Use that for $50 off the stuff. And everything closes at 6 o'clock, but I'll let it stay open for a little bit just because we're close, and see if anybody who's been watching this wants to go get stuff. And this has been the Workbook Masterclass class, checklists for journals and workbooks and all that. So we will be meeting. They'll be sending out an email for Monday at, I believe, 3 o'clock. Will be a Zoom call, and then there'll be another one. So the 3 that were scheduled that you can come in, and then we can talk in more greater detail about your projects, questions, things that you might have. And oh, got to go run cooking dinner. All right, thanks. Okay, thank you, Brenda. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being a member. It's fantastic. So we will let that kind of go. Let's see here. All right. I hope everybody has a good evening, and we will talk to you soon, and we'll see you on the inside of the class. And so that, any questions, email, send out, put comments, and I will talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye, and thank you for joining if you've hung in for all the way through to this part, and do the class. All right, bye-bye.